Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip Hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business.
What up, y'all? Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast, and I am your host, Vegas. And this is the Dungeons of Rap. If you're watching video, big shout out to the producers over at patreon.com/hiphopnow. And if you would like to support this podcast and learn all about it, follow the link in the description of this episode. 50 years of hip hop. It's Memorial Day weekend. If you're from the future, come on now, man, go and get your ass out of here. You already had the holiday or whatever. But because it's a holiday weekend and because I don't really report like rumors and scandalous news and Diddy taking it a little bit too far with his video with the city girls, and he probably should have did a little bit more sit-ups, went on a strict diet and went back to looking like young Diddy. But that's besides the point. I don't get into that kind of news because you come here for not only news about music that's coming out that you may want to check out, artists that you may want to hear about as far as it relates to music, but also, I assume so, you like my perspective on some of these things. And every now and again, I like to do an episode when the news is slow on a particular topic. So, it being 50 years of hip hop, let's get right into the business. I did a story, or I read a story on Clark Kent and his comments about the Chronic being classic or not, which is very controversial. And in that news story, I said, from my perspective, before you judge, go look up Clark Kent, right? DJ Clark Kent, not Superman, DJ Clark Kent, right? Just so you know who you're judging. And there's a lot of debate on whether Clark Kent can say that. Well, of course he can say that. He's a human being. He has an opinion. He can express his opinion. But that's not what some people are saying. Some people are saying, well, no. Is he an authority on hip hop that we even have to care about what he says? Does he know what he's talking about if he says the Chronic isn't a classic? I would say no, because the Chronic is a classic, but I would say yes because of his history. So I ask you to Google it. If you listen to this podcast, I ask you to go and Google him. But now we're not really going to talk about him. We're going to talk about whether Clark Kent, and shout out to Apartment 5B, DJ Clark Kent, or people like him who have contributed to hip hop, what do we consider them, right? What makes them worthy of people following their opinion beyond having a like opinion, a similar opinion, I should say. And there's a lot of debate on whether you should listen to somebody like a Clark Kent. So a lot of people were tossing around the term that DJ Clark Kent is a legend in hip hop, or certified in hip hop, or cemented in hip hop. Let me focus on the word legend, because we're not just going to talk about DJ Clark Kent. We're going to talk about the hip hop Hall of Fame, so to speak, and who's a legend and who isn't. Who deserves to be called a legend and who is just a person that DJ or a person that rapped or had a hit record or produced a hit record, and that's it. So the definition of legend, dictionary.com, says, if you refer to someone as a legend, you mean that they are very famous and admired by a lot of people. Examples being blues legends John Lee Hooker and B.B. King. Now, without a doubt, those are legends when it comes to blues music. But when it comes to hip hop, if I call and consider Jay-Z a legend at this point in his career, Can I also turn around and call DJ Clark Kent a legend? I mean, their resumes don't even compare. DJ Clark Kent has a resume. He's done more than a lot of the people online who are talking about him, right? Including myself. But at the same time, it seems weird to refer to him as a legend when you know Jay-Z has accomplished so much more. But is Jay-Z's accomplishments as a legend in hip-hop the bar? Because if it is, well, then how is Rakim a legend, right? Rakim does not have the same status or catalog or body of work as a Jay-Z, right? But would you not call Rakim a legend? It's blasphemy. It's the God. Of course he's a legend. So I think when you think about the word legend, it's kind of like how people are doing this everybody's a GOAT thing, right? The way people use GOAT, which is greatest of all times, for those that don't know, it's not singular anymore because they call everybody a GOAT, even though there's only one GOAT. His name is LL Cool J, but that's a story for another time, okay? But they call everybody a GOAT. And now it's just more so to like calling them a master at what they do, right? So you admire this person so much to recognize them as a master of what they do. They're a GOAT, you know. It's one of my GOATs, one of the best. But master of ceremonies is MC, right? So everybody's kind of that, but everybody's not an MC. So let's talk about legend, right? I gave you an analogy of Rakim and Jay-Z having different accomplishments, and Jay-Z clearly having more than Rakim, and much bigger in a lot of ways. I think when people refer to hip-hop artists and producers and DJs and everybody else as legends, I think it really just comes down to impact. And impact doesn't mean record sales. See what I did there? Impact just means, would you rather be Jay-Z and influence a couple of people, but nobody really sounds like Jay-Z, right? But you're popular and you sell a lot of records. Whereas Rakim influenced a generation of MCs. But you know what's crazy? So did Lil Wayne. Jay-Z, not so much. You may want to get money like him. You may want to talk about money like him. But Jay-Z's kind of one of a kind. It's not like people rap like him, because a lot of his output as an MC was him. And it's tough to duplicate without, well, you don't want to duplicate, but it's tough to duplicate as someone being inspired by him, right? Maybe you're inspired to come up with your own style. But you see what I mean? Like, Rakim's impact is so much greater than Jay-Z's. Jay-Z's impact steps outside of the realm of just being able to rap and putting out dope music, and it goes to business and, you know, being a mogul and longevity and all these other things, where Rakim changed the scope in which how MCs rhymed, including Jay-Z, including Nas, including Jadakiss. Like, everybody that raps on that type of level, boom bap or whatever, right? Same thing with Ice-T. Did 6 in the Morning. I mean, gangster rap in the West Coast was born for the most part, right? Based off of that. Obviously, Eazy-E had to come aboard, but Ice-T did what he did, and it kind of became the blueprint for what people could rap about out of the West Coast, right? It became a signature for them. So when you look at legends, let's talk about, you know, a Hall of Fame, right? So we already looked at legends and what can make you a legend. And I think at the end of the day, it's impact. You can be someone who's not on a Jay-Z or Rakim level and still have huge impact. Like, I think Ghostface as a soloist had a huge impact on a game, right? To the point where the Wu goes without saying, but he was able to carve out so much of a identity as a soloist, as a I was going to say a person, the man or whatever, but in hip hop, that he's influenced a lot of people, right? He's influenced rhyme styles and everything, and Raekwon too, probably to a lesser extent, because Ghost's run is kind of like damn near flawless, whereas Raekwon put out a classic album in Purple Tape, only built for Cuban links. Then he went straight to the bottom with Immobilarity and kind of had to build up again. But one analogy, and I'm not going to take long on this, one analogy is like a Hall of Fame situation, right? Now, most people think when it comes to Hall of Fame, we're going back to DJ Clark Kent. Someone like DJ Clark Kent doesn't get in. Rakim, Jay-Z gets in, Jam Master Jay gets in, DJ Scratch, DJ Jazzy Jeff, blah, blah, blah. You know, just bigger names with a bigger impact on the game in one way or another. But Clark Kent has some very notable credits to his name. I keep saying Clark Kent. I really hope you don't think I'm talking about Superman. For if you come into this stream a little bit late, talking about a DJ Clark Kent. But when you look at a Hall of Fame, it's like, okay, well, he's not worthy of getting in? He has to be up here with impact. He has to be a legend in order to get into the Hall of Fame? I don't think so. And the only reason why I say that is because if you're watching this video and you haven't, or you're listening on an audio podcast and you're a sports fan, but in particular a basketball fan, and if you've ever visited the National Basketball Hall of Fame, it is not the NBA's Hall of Fame. It's Basketball Hall of Fame. And when you go in, at least a couple years ago, that's what it was when I attended, you thinking, oh, I'm gonna see Shaq and Jordan and AI and all these people. Yeah, they're in there, and they're in a special section because they like the legends of the game. But when you first entered, there's a lot of people there you've never heard of before. Some people who never played in the pros. Some people who were legends in college, and you may never know their name. Now, I know I use the word legend, but I just use it, as a way to characterize them. But what I'm saying is, this guy who was a legend in college or a legend in high school, but never got to the league, whether he got hurt or couldn't make it because he couldn't play on that level, or he got to the league and was garbage in the NBA. The whole doesn't take away from what they accomplished at those lower levels. So no, they're not at the ceremony, with the jacket on, being inducted with a speech. That's for the legends of the game, the top tier, the best of the best, at the highest platform. But there are those, like college coaches, who reigned supreme at lower levels of basketball, right? Didn't really go to professional basketball. So are those people not worthy of being in the National Basketball Hall of Fame? When you know that you used to watch this dude in high school and he was crazy. He was dropping 60 every game. He was shooting it from everywhere. The gym was crazy. There's so many stories of people like that. So I feel like at the end of the day, if you have contributed something significant to a degree to hip hop, if you've played a role in the advancement of hip hop, whether it's a hit, discovering an artist, producing hits, rapping on them, DJing for this guy, but it's not like a combat competition. He didn't do 16 flips and 35 kicks, so he's out of here. The thing is let's just look at DJ Clark Kent. And I'm not trying to make a case for him being a legend, because I do not consider him a legend. But I do consider his opinion worthy of at least paying attention to because of what he's accomplished in the game, who he knows, who he's worked with. It's hip hop isn't just about bars and beats. At the end of the day, it is a business as well. It's been a business damn near since the inception of it. And a lot of people want to leave that out for street rules that never really applied when you do the research. But Clark Kent, okay, he was the DJ for Dana Dane. Now, Dana Dane is not a legend either. But Dana Dane, when he was hot, he was hot. And not everybody really looked down upon him for sounding like Slick Rick at a time where biting was not allowed. And I think it was because it seemed like Slick Rick kind of co-signed it. So who cared? But the songs and the rhymes were clever. So he was getting his respect based off of the music he created, right? Which was also storytelling, which makes me wonder. But DJ Clark Kent, sure. I don't know if he produced anything on those albums. I don't know if he was just a DJ at shows. But if back in those days, in the 80s, the DJ was just as important as the MC most of the time. It really was. And he was a part of this, I guess, legendary DJ crew, the Supermen or whatever. He produced Players Anthem, which is not insignificant because it appeared on Junior Mafia's album. It was a huge hit for Junior Mafia's album and for Biggie Smalls also, and for Lil' Kim, probably her first hit when you think about it, introducing her to the game. You can't take that lightly just because it's not no beat that would really make you go crazy. It's a cool beat. It's one of the greatest beats of all time. Not really, but there's a lot of beats from some of your favorite artists, favorite producers, that are not the greatest beats of all time. Sometimes they even whack, coming from legends. The RZA, some of that late stuff, But it still was a hit. It still extended Biggie's career beyond Ready to Die at that point in time, along with everything else. He's even produced a hit for Mariah. He's produced for several people in the hip hop game. Some hits, some recognizable songs, some not. Famously produced Brooklyn's Finest, which again, the beat was cool. I didn't think, Clark Kent got them beats. You know what I'm saying? I just liked the song he produced, right? And so on and so forth. And I think he also discovered Shine, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, those are just small things on his resume that you can Google and see that are indications that he was a pivotal and sought after producer. You don't get to produce for Mariah if you're not that great of a producer. You don't get to produce for Jay-Z at that time. I don't care whether he was big as an artist or not. People aren't checking for you if they don't like your production, whether it's 50 Cent or whoever he's produced for going down the line. It just doesn't happen that way. People want to, get beats from you because they like what you do. And there's probably more to it. So at the end of the day, this is not a soapbox to defend him. It's actually because I saw the conversation. And again, shout out to Apartment 5B. But I do not feel like he's a legend. I do not feel like everybody's a legend. But I do feel like we can't downgrade someone's accomplishments within the game that we can get hypothetical after the fact and say, because I think about it this way. If you take Clark Kent out of those scenarios, what changes? It's easy to say nothing changes. You know why? Because people just make up stuff to support their argument. You don't know that, right? You don't know what Players Anthem did for Biggie to extend what he had already did with Ready to Die. You don't know whether there's a domino effect of things that happen behind the scenes. All we know is that he was sought after for production, and that's for a reason. And when you're talking about Biggie Smalls and Jay-Z and the Jay-Z and Biggie Smalls song, you mean to tell me they couldn't go get Primo to do that record at that time? Why Clark Kent? Why Clark Kent at all? DJ Clark Kent. It's not Superman. I'm telling y'all. Don't mess around. But nevertheless, again, so I think it's the same argument as the whole GOAT argument, right? Be careful who you call a legend, because it may be misunderstood what you mean. Be careful when you call somebody anything that most people feel like they're not deserving of because this person is deserving of, right? If I'm going to call Kid Capri a legendary DJ, I don't see Clark Kent on his level, even though Clark Kent probably has more accomplishments in the hip hop game, in the music industry, than Kid Capri. But Kid Capri's the better DJ, if you ask me. Kid Capri's the bigger name, if you ask me. And therefore, I think both of them belong in a whole. Just there's levels to it. There's levels, right? No picture, DJ Clark Kent. So right up, because of the connection. When you're talking about Biggie and you're reading the Biggie thing, the Players Anthem, produced by Clark Kent. Right? That's how you get in the Hall of Fame. All right. But what do you think? Not about DJ Clark Kent, but do you think there's levels to being called a legend? Do you think you have to do way more than what Dana Dane or DJ Clark Kent or, I don't know, the Lost Boys or whoever? Do you think you need to have done the same things as a Rakim or LL or Nas or Jay-Z in order to be considered a legend in the hip hop game? Leave your comments in the comment section wherever you get this podcast. Please know that's also available on all podcasting platforms and especially on YouTube in video form. All you got to do is search for Hip Hop Now, subscribe, like it if you like the videos, and most importantly, share it with people enjoy this kind of content. Until next time, y'all, I'm not a critic, I'm a fan, and I'm a legend. Peace.